Hello, welcome to Module 2. This is video 3, and we'll be looking at the behind the scenes behind the tool here. So really getting to know the tool and everything you need to know about taking that tool to some action-based coaching. So it's the technical side of it, so stay with us. So let me introduce you to the tool itself. So launched in 2009, it's been called Realise 2 and R2 Strengths Profiler in the past. You may have heard it by those names. Why did we create the tool? There are other strengths tools out there. So Strengths Profiler, not only do we measure performance, energy and use, which you'll be aware of now, so that's quite unique for us, but we also wanted a more granular, a more holistic tool, something that felt really unique to us. Really unique to the individuals that are completing the tool. So this is why we have 60 strengths. So from place of 60 strengths, we can get to a point where someone looks at the profile and says, I'm not just good with people, I'm great at connecting, I'm a good rapport builder. Actually, I build deep relationships. Why are you good with people? So we've got to the heart of the 60 strengths. And I guess and how we've chosen those 60 strengths is by saying we're running around 30,000 strengths-based interviews. We've not just myself, we've got a number of colleagues who have been out there with their listening strengths. And from those sort of bank of about 220, we've got down to 60. I won't tell you what was at number 61 because I've never been the same before since knowing what didn't make it. But 60 strengths. So that makes us, that makes it quite a robust, unique, sort of holistic approach to development. And of course, from that, we've got the 4 quadrants that we know. So we're not just looking at realised strengths, the things that we're already good at and do. We're looking at unrealised strengths, the things that we have potentially have more use to draw out. There's been amazing things that we call unrealised strengths, things like the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, our hidden talent. More about that later. But we do reveal learned behaviours and we do reveal weaknesses. It's not the focus of the conversation, but without understanding those, often it's difficult to get the best from people because they're still stuck on their weaknesses. So 4 quadrants within the tool, that makes us pretty unique as well. And it's also dynamic because we measure performance, energy and use. We're looking at, how often we do something could change from one year to the next. How much we're loving something could change from one year to the next. So we do advise people to take this about every 12 months, particularly if they're changing roles or their life behind the scenes, their home life changes as well. So a dynamic tool that measures performance, energy and use. And that way, we can really track development. Things went from unrealised to realised. It went from a learned behaviour to a realised strength. They're those kind of journeys that we want to take people on with our conversations. So, there are 4 profiles available within the tool itself. We've got the expert profile, which is typically the profiles that you as professional coaches will be using, and the ones that you'll have already seen through completing the tool yourself. We've also got the introductory profile, and that's a slightly lighter version. We'll give you a sample of those as we go through. And we've also got a team profile and a manager profile as well. So again, more on those shortly. Most profiles reveal the 4 quadrants. It's just the manager that doesn't. So we look at, that again, that's the bit that really makes us different, thinking about the realised and unrealised, really unleashing that talent, helping people with the burnout on their learned behaviours and actually saying, do you know what? It's okay to have weaknesses. So all the 3, the intro, the expert and the team all have those 4 quadrants in each of the profiles. Each of them also talks about the strengths profile model of development, our use model, the action. So what do we do with the strengths now that we know, what we have in our toolkit? What can we do? What's the advice? So we'll be looking at that across all of the profiles as well. We look at strengths families in the expert profile and the team family as well. And the strengths families, again, we'll cover a little bit more on the 5 themes that sort of take the 60 strengths and help you talk about them in a wider format, sort of a theme. So these are my thinking strengths and I'm good at these, or maybe not so good, or I'm more drained by my motivating. So it helps us have those conversations and see where any patterns exist. We advise people to be completing it around sort of age 16 plus. You may find that under that age that there aren't too many strategically aware people. And to date, I'm really proud to be able to announce that we have accredited over 1,400 practitioners to be able to use strengths profiles. So you'll shortly be joining a really enthusiastic and positive community around strengths. So let's look at the introductory profile then. So all profiles have the dictionary. So this is the Strengths Profile Dictionary. So we list all 60 strengths in all of the profiles. And the introductory profile also gives you the strengths profile quadrant. So that's the one that you can see on the screen here, those 4 quadrants with your strengths in. We talk about up to 21 attributes on each quadrant profile as well. So you can have up to 7 strengths on a realised profile, on a quadrant in an introductory. You can have up to 7 realised strengths, up to 7 unrealised strengths, up to 4 learned behaviours, and up to 3 weaknesses. And most people will have that number within the quadrant. And you may find that within your own profile, maybe you had 6 unrealised strengths, maybe you had just 2 weaknesses, or it's very unusual to have less than 4 learned behaviours. But we say up to because actually if you did have less than that, it just means that your data appears more heavy in another quadrant. So if you've only got 3 unrealised strengths, it's likely that you're maximising, you're using all of your strengths, and they're either realised or perhaps they're learned behaviours. So don't worry if that you don't have exactly those numbers. But as a rule of thumb, 7 realised and unrealised, 4 learned behaviours, and 3 weaknesses. And of course, we want to focus on the positive. So this is why we're weighted more towards our strengths. So if we work through the expert profile, what are the additional features? Why bother with those? And hopefully you've been on that journey yourself a little bit when you've printed and looked at your own profile. You will have an opportunity to look more at your own profile, and of course be coached in module 8 as well. So you get the strengths profile quadrant as before, but we also give you the full list of 60 strengths across all of the 4 quadrants, as you can see. So, to begin with, it might look like a long list and what am I going to do with it? But it really helps have in-the-moment conversations, as you'll see from our demonstrations. If someone says, where was my strategic awareness? I thought I had that. You can quickly have a peek and find out where it sits for individuals. You also get to receive advice on both the introductory and the expert profiles around what to do relevant to where it appears. So mission for me is, a realised strength. So I want to be able to use that wisely, and I get advice for using it wisely. If mission was a learned behaviour, I'm going to get advice about how to use it when needed. So the advice is relevant to where it appears in your quadrant. So there are, within the introductory, there'll be 21 pieces of advice, but for the expert, you get all 60 strengths and advice about where it appears for you in that quadrant. So we also introduce strengths families as well and give you a couple of breakdowns about how they appear in your profile. So we'll talk about that more very shortly in some of these additional features, just to bring it to life so that you know how to coach with them. So we talk about the team insights as well. So similar approach to expert profiles. I guess one of the critical things here is that you need to have completed the expert profiles for an individual in advance. So it will take the expert profiles from however many people are in that team, 6, 10, 8, 20, and it will take that data and produce the team profile. And we cannot produce that from the introductory profile. So that's kind of a key piece, is the expert profiles that we need. If you happen to have taken intro and you want expert, we can just upgrade and you pay the difference. So it's not going to stop you, but just be aware of that. So again, we look at the team quadrant now. So thinking about the team, where does pride sits in this team? 10 out of 10 people have pride as a realised strength, or what are the learned behaviours, from a team perspective? Maybe 7 out of 10 people, have unconditionality. What do we have in terms of frequencies within this team around the 4 quadrants? So it was very similar to what you see in the expert profile, but from a team perspective. So you get the numbers by the side of it. And this really helps, of course, get the picture, the high level of the team, and what you're doing, what the team is doing, what they're not doing, what they should be doing, what they could be doing more of course, that really exciting space about unrealised strengths. What we don't do for data protection is we don't name anyone in the team and their exact results. So we name the team, so these are your team members, but we don't put names against different attributes, but you'll get a full range, and you can see here on the being family here around, how many people within your team have them as unrealised, but just as a number rather than individuals as well. And obviously, if you need to know the individuals, an example that I would share with you, I was coaching a team in Scotland quite recently. 19 out of 20 people had adherence as a weakness. So it was quite important that one person, we knew who that was, that they could hold the team together and hold them more accountable. So in that situation, you refer to the individual profiles to get the information that you need. I think, it's really important that we recognise that data protection within teams as well. So, thinking about, what you might need to do in any team setting before using those, and thinking about positioning team profiles. It's all about strengths, but of course we do look at those learned behaviours and weaknesses, just to help the team be aware of maybe what sort of culturally is draining. So finally, we'll look at the manager insights. This is a reasonably new introduction to the profiles now. So in here, why we've designed these, because the focus, very much going forward is the managers having coaching conversations with individuals, and how to get the best. The manager, it can't just be about HR and L&D anymore. The managers have got to enable their team, their staff to get the best from them and be able to recognise the best in their team as well. So we've produced these manager profiles, and what they do is recognise the 2 realised strengths and 2 unrealised strengths for each individual team member that you select. So, if you're managing a team of 6 people, we give you some information around managing learned behaviours and weaknesses more generically, and then we just reveal the 2 realised and unrealised strengths for each of your team member. And that talks about how to develop them based on that, or how to manage them based on their unrealised strength of creativity, and so forth. So, and that way a manager could have, instead of, 10 different profiles, they could have 10 pages in a profile and have one profile, and they could at least get the best from the top 2 realised and unrealised strengths. But again, the individual profiles will need completing in advance for you to complete those manager profiles. So check our website if you want more information on those. So that's the end of video 3, the background to the profiles and introducing you to the profiles themselves. We'll see you in module 4, video 4, for the validity and comparisons. See you soon.